Hello everyone and welcome back to Sparrows End Homestead. We're on to episode 2 of how much food can I grow in a year. Now if you are new to my channel, I make videos about my garden and also my allotment. And this year, as well as keeping you up to date on the cottage garden and also the allotment, we're going to be doing a real focus on how much food I can grow in 1 year in those different spaces. So something I didn't explain particularly well or hardly at all in the last video is what kind of space am I actually working with here? Well, I've got a half plot allotment, which is about 50 foot by 25 foot, which if you look back at any of my allotment vlogs, you will get a feel for the kind of space that I've got there. I've got a long, thin garden at the back of my house. It's about 100 foot long and probably only about 16 foot wide. And in that space, I've got a container garden that's up near the house because that's the area that's really, really warm in the garden. And then in the main part of the garden, I have a cottage garden that's full of bulbs and flowers and shrubs and things. And then towards the bottom of the garden, I have got a patch set aside for growing food in. And then I've also got a section at the back, which is very messy, but it's going to be the utility area. As we move through the year, I'm going to be showing you loads of the garden, so you'll get a real sense of how much space there is out there. Now in today's video, I am going to be growing a year's worth of chilies, peppers and onions. And they are vegetables that have a pretty long growing season in the UK because we have a very temperate climate for the most part, even though that is starting to change in kind of recent years. And February and early March are great times to get these vegetables up and running. So what we're going to do today then is we're going to have a look at the varieties that I'm growing. We are going to sort out my growing space, which is in front of me at the moment, and we're going to get all of these seeds in so that I hopefully have an abundance of chilies and peppers and onions for 2023. Right, let's start with the growing space. So you saw me clean this up in episode 1, and I've been collecting a few sort of plastic tubs that vegetables and fruits and things have come in. So I'm going to be using those as well as fishing out some trays with lids and things from the garden. And if we have a little look at the varieties that I'm growing, these are the things that I am getting incredibly excited about growing. So these are probably the most exciting thing to me because I love habanero chilies. I absolutely love that perfume that you get from them. And I've never grown this chocolate variety before. I think the colour looks incredible and I cannot wait to get going with those. And then this is the multi-pack that I've bought here. There's 5 different varieties of chilli in here, ranging from sort of padron, which is really mild. There's some jalapeno and some other bits and pieces in there. I am not sure that these are in individual packets. They feel like they're all mixed in together, so that could be quite interesting, identifying those later on in the season. So those are the chilies that I've got. And what I also tend to do is I buy chili plug plants a little bit later on in the season, just if there's anything that kind of takes my fancy. But this is what I'm going to be growing from seed. Now in terms of peppers, we have these. Now I find, because I don't have a greenhouse or a polytunnel, I find that bell peppers are really difficult to grow. But what I do manage to grow outside on the patio in containers are these long, skinny peppers that are delicious. And you can just pan fry them with a little bit of salt and pepper, maybe a little bit of butter or some lovely extra virgin olive oil, maybe a little bit of garlic, and they taste absolutely fantastic as they are. Now my absolute favourites are these Dolce de Bergamo ones. So this is just some leftovers from a seed packet that I think I had 2 or 3 years ago. And it's the same here as well, these Lombardo peppers. This is just kind of what's left in a packet. But what I find is with these, I think this is one of those, Franchi Italian seed packets, is that you get lots and lots of seeds in the packet, which is fantastic. So I'm hoping that these will germinate because they will then be my mild peppers. So we'll have some kind of mostly spicy chilies and then some mild peppers in the place of the bell peppers. And then this is what we've got onion wise here. Let's kind of go for Right, so we've got Welsh onion, which is a type of perennial onion that I keep meaning to grow and I never quite get around to it. I tried it once, I think a few years ago, and I tried sowing it direct and it didn't work. So I'm going to try and grow these indoors, or get them started indoors, then transplant them outside and see if that works better for me. Now, these two are some leftover packets of spring onions. I might have to buy another packet, I'm not sure. There could be enough in here. So we've got White Lisbon Winter Hardy. This is a great one for sowing in autumn, and I normally have a lot of success with it. But this year, most of them have been destroyed because of that really cold patch that we had just before Christmas. But you can also grow them all year round as well. And then these North Holland blood red ones, I really like these as well because you can leave them and they will bulb up into, you know, proper onions, or you can just eat them as spring onions. So they'll do for now. Some of these I'll sow direct, and then others I will grow in little groups in the trays that are in front of me at the moment. And then these are kind of like a main crop onion, for want of a better term. And we've got Kelsey and Rinsberger. This was free with a magazine, and then I can't remember why I chose this one off the top of my head, but I think I bought this last year, but I bought it too late to sow them. So hopefully this year we can give these ones a go. Right then, in order to get on with the next bit, the next part of the episode, I need to go outside into the cold. So I'm going to grab my coat, and then we're going to have a rummage around and see if we can find some seed trays and some propagator lids, bring them in, get them cleaned up, and then we'll be ready to sow some seeds. Wow, that was cold. It wasn't too hard to find stuff either, which, considering the mess down there, is kind of impressive. Oh, I'm so excited. Now I can see compost in some of these trays. Now I haven't filled all of them up because I'm not entirely sure how much room I need for the packets of seeds that I have shown you and for the amounts that I'm hoping to grow of each one. But we've got one little skinny tray on the windowsill there, and then 3 that are just like punnets and tubs left over from fruit and veg and pasta and things like that, and then 2 full-size trays. So I've shown you the trays that I filled up. I didn't take the tripod out and kind of film me filling the trays with compost, but let's start at the beginning. So the trays, I've kind of washed them out in soapy water. If you are keen to be 100% totally and utterly organic, then just make sure you are using an organic washing up liquid or organic soap or something like that. I'm not trying to clean them, I'm just trying to make sure that any diseases that might have lingered in the trays, possibly from last year, just to make sure that that's not going to be a problem. So, you know, they've had some soapy water, they've been out in the cold all winter, which will have taken care of, you know, some of it. Another handy hint would be to make sure that when you're cleaning your trays, that you also turn them upside down and clean under the rims of them, because I found a little teeny tiny little baby snail that would have been a Mahusif snail by the time it had finished eating all of my seedlings. So you kind of want to get rid of that. He went outside just to go and probably eat my plants outside at some point later in the year. I'm going to regret it. Could have squished it, but I saved his life. And I also found some spiders' eggs and things under the rim. And, you know, I'm not an insectophobe, is that the right word? I'm not phobic about insects. I don't particularly want to bring in a load of spiders. I don't particularly want snails crawling around my kitchen. Believe me, it can happen when you're a gardener. Snails, slugs, the works. and just make sure you kind of clean a bit under there. Now later on in the season, I don't do any of that kind of cleaning in my house. It's just that it's too cold to do it outside. What I normally do, and what you might see me doing in a future episode, is I get like a big tub, I fill it with water from the outside tap, and again I stick a bit of soap in there, and I'll clean like loads of pots and things outside. But because we're having this like 2 weeks of this cold weather, they've gone in my kitchen sink, which I now need to clean because obviously that's got dirty. Now, when it comes to, what's the next thing? Oh yeah, the compost. I have always just sown my seeds in a multi-purpose compost. In fact, I use multi-purpose compost, funnily enough, for almost everything, pretty much everything, unless you are growing something that needs ericaceous soil, or something particular like houseplants will benefit from using like specialist houseplant compost. But for everything else, I just use multi-purpose. Have a look for peat-free. Try and get peat-free if you can. Again, you know, trying to make the right decisions for the environment. But what happens to me sometimes is that people bring me bags of compost who maybe don't know very much about gardening, and they've brought me something that has some peat content in it. Most important thing if that happens is you must use it, and you must use it all up and not waste it, because then it really, you know, it really is some pointless damage to the environment. Also bear in mind that it's being phased out anyway, so it won't be long before, you know, we can't get it as a domestic grower. So don't panic, don't fret. If you get it as a gift, use it all up. If you're buying, go for peat-free where possible, whenever you can. Yeah, so the seeds themselves, they're not going to need any nutrients. They'll have everything they need inside of themselves, and that will last them anything from like 4 weeks to 8 weeks. But what I find with the multi-purpose compost is, because so sometimes if I have widely spaced my seeds, I will let the seedlings get quite big in the trays, and they will eventually start to use the nutrients that are in the multi-purpose compost. Other times, if I have sown the seeds pretty close together, which I do quite a lot of the time, I get a bit carried away, then I will prick those seedlings out into more multi-purpose compost. What's then left in the tray is perfectly fine to use for something else. You'll also notice that I fill my trays up quite high, obviously not right to the rim. I do see a lot of people with like only half filling their trays, and I understand it's because you're worrying about wasting the compost, and compost is expensive. But what you can end up with is, because the sides of the tray are causing quite a lot of shadow on the seedlings, you could end up with quite leggy, or you can end up with quite leggy seedlings if you do that. So I tend to fill mine quite high to the top, knowing full well that I'm going to recycle that compost at some point into other pots, or to sow further seeds into it, etc. So that's kind of it for my setup. Now, in terms of watering, I will get on to sowing the seeds in a minute. I'm enjoying having a chat about my seeds. In terms of watering, then I will be watering from the top, because I don't have any other equipment or options or anything like that. It's a lot easier and can stop things from damping off, and can stop things like mold and rot and just, you know, things going wrong with your seedlings if you water from the bottom up. So that just means really just kind of like sitting your seed trays in a tray that has some water in it, so that kind of absorbs up into the soil, rather than using a watering can and watering from above. If you have a greenhouse, you can set up a whole system like that. If you've got a conservatory, or you've got quite big windowsills, you can probably have a setup like that. If you can afford to buy a lot of the really lovely setups and equipment for that, absolutely go for it. I'd love that one day. At some point I will invest in these things that I see and I know are a better option. But here's the thing, and this is what you will see a lot with me, if you're on a budget or you just don't have the time or the space to get all of the really great things set up, don't worry about it, because you can still grow loads and loads of veg and things just using a simple setup like me, which is some leftover pots and tubs and things, and make some holes in it, chuck some compost in and get sowing. Speaking of which, I should probably do that, because I've just been chatting a bit too much. I'm so excited though. I'm kind of getting getting a bit of chilli fever, because honestly, my chilli plants every year, they are always amongst my most successful plants. Even though I've grown them in pots and even though I've grown them outside. Well, not so much the pots thing, the outside thing in the UK. So this is what we've got. We are going to sow some chocolate habanero, 5 different varieties in here, which is jalapeno, padron, Romanian something or other, cayenne, and I can't pronounce that. That looks Italian, Ciliegia picante. And I think they're all mixed in together, like I said earlier. But let me stop my chit chat and let me get sewing. Right then, folks, I don't have like the best tripod and camera set up here. I have a gimbal and sort of tripod, and I've kind of tried to shift it around a bit, but it's all a bit wonky. But this is what we're going to do. I'm going to sow some chilies and some peppers first. I don't know how much you're going to be able to see from where you are. I will try to zoom in. I will try to do it in such a way as you can see what I'm doing, but if not, then I don't know where we are. But we're going to have a go. Let's see. Let's go for, right, these are going to be my prized ones. These are going to be my absolute. So excited for these. So excited. Let's see how many. Oh, that's the thing. Let me talk about it. If I just come down here a minute, this is no good. I should move it, shouldn't I? I should move it. I shouldn't really talk to you from down here, but do you know what? I'm going to be down here dangling my hair in the compost. Right, so I need to sow a year's worth of chilies, basically. Last year, I think I had about 12 plants. The chilies that I got from them, I'm just running out of them now. So I figure I need double. Now, that might sound like a lot. If you're growing in a warmer climate, your chili plants are going to grow bigger than mine, and there's going to be more chilies. They're going to be more prolific. If you are in the UK and you are growing in a greenhouse, you're also going to have bigger and better plants with more chilies. I'm growing outside on a hot and sunny patio in the UK, which is enough for each plant to probably produce maybe 20 to 30 chilies, but probably not more than that. The other thing to bear in mind is we love spicy food in this house, and we use chilies in a lot of dishes. In fact, we just tear through our vegetable shops. Whenever we fill the fridge up with veg, it just doesn't last very long, which is another reason why I want to grow loads of it. So yeah, so I'm looking for an absolute minimum of 30 plants this year, and they're going to be dotted all over my patio. I will put some at the allotment, and I might even try a few further down in the garden. There's a little patch down there that gets quite warm and sunny, so we're going to have a go and see if I can. I dry them out. They dry out quite naturally anyway, and I really want my chilies to last, you know, into the summer. I don't mind maybe a gap of a month where I'm on some shop bought chilies, but I don't want more than that. Oh, there's loads in here. I'm so excited. There's loads. Let's see what we've got. Oh, there's even more in there, but let's just see here. Right, so these are the chocolate. Let me show you what they look like. These are the chocolate habanero. And because they're quite big seeds, I'm going to space them by hand. 3, 4, 5. I'm going to do 6 in a row. And they won't all come up. So let's not get overexcited and think that I'm going to have too many chili plants. Right, so we've got 18 there. That's good, isn't it? Pleased with that. Right, next ones. Let's have a look in here. Now, I think these ones are all mixed up, so this could be quite interesting. Let's have a look. Yes, they are. They're all mixed up. So do you know what? I'm just going to chuck all of these in. Oh, this is going to be amazing. I'm so excited. So this is kind of like a potluck, isn't it? So I just need to remember that at the back are the chocolate habaneros. Some of these are getting like 2 in each spot, but I'm not bothered. This is just going to be a whole tray of chili seeds, isn't it? I can see this happening. Right, so those are all my chilies sown. It's a whole tray's worth. I think we could be looking at over 50 plants if they come up, but they won't all come up. But even if they did, I don't care. I will find homes for them. I have 2 parents who grow veg and neighbours who grow veg, so that's all good. Really pleased with that. Next thing to go in are going to be my mild, skinny peppers, the Lombardo and the Dolce di Bergamo. And because I want lots of these as well, I'm going to put those into the other big tray, half and half. Now, the amount of peppers and chilies that I've sown might seem like absolute madness to you, but I promise you it makes sense. These seeds are also a little bit old, so I'm not expecting the best germination rate on them, so I've kind of put extra in there for that reason as well. Now I'm going to sow these 2 varieties. These are Kelsey and Rinsberger. All I've now done with these is I've put a thin, light coating of further compost over the top of them, just enough to cover the seeds up, and then I'm going to pop the propagator lids on and make sure that everything is labelled correctly. So there we have it. That's all of my chilies, peppers and onions sown indoors. Now with the onions, I've kept back quite a lot of the seeds so that I can sow some of that direct, probably towards the end of March, early April, depending on what temperatures are like. The spring onions that I've sown indoors, I will just plant those out into little kind of multi-sown clumps, whereas the regular sized onions, I will plant those out individually. So then hopefully I've covered all of my bases, and there'll be some direct sown onions and some sown under glass onions. So I think that's episode 2 done and dusted. If you have enjoyed this video and you're enjoying watching me grow as much food as possible this year, then make sure you like the video and you've hit subscribe and the notification bell so that you get told the next time I upload a video. Episode 3 will either be some further seed sowing, or it might be when we go to the allotment and make sure that all of the veg beds over there are fully prepared. In between all of this, there'll be the usual allotment tours, garden tours. I've been busy in the cottage garden recently as well, so if you're interested in all types of gardening, then make sure you subscribe, because there will be more videos coming your way soon. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today, and I will see you again soon.